Welcome to the farm.
Welcome back to the farm. I'm Justin, and today we need to do some work with our pigs. We picked them up about 5 weeks ago, and honestly we were hoping to have them trained on electric fence and out on pasture already, but life happens and it just didn't happen. So we're going to work on getting the electric fence set up, get them trained on it, but before we do that, I need to get their pen cleaned out. It's getting pretty filthy, and we want some healthy, happy animals. So we're gonna get the tractor fired up, bring that over here, clean out the pen, then we'll work on getting the fence set up and show you how we train them. So basically what I'm gonna do to clean the pen is I'm just gonna rake everything up. They like to poo along the fence line, so that's where I'm gonna concentrate most of my raking. And pull all the bedding, rake all the bedding out of the house, rake it all up into a pile, shovel it into the bucket, go dump that in compost, and then put down some PDZ or stall refresh, and then new straw inside the house and new hay for them to eat. So let's get started. So I gotta move this trough. It's gonna be in the way of doing our electric fence training anyway. And the reason I have it tilted up on an angle like this is the pigs are too short to drink out of the trough standing up. So we put it on a little bit of an angle so we can still get a good amount of water in there and they can still reach it to drink. So the pen's all raked out, cleaned up. Got a loader full of compost to go take over. House is all raked out, cleaned out. We'll let that air out and dry out a little bit. It got a little wet in there, so we'll let that dry before we put the new bedding in. And let's go take this stuff to compost. Okay, so we got our gator over by our pig pen here. We have our hay, we have our straw, we have water, and we have our PDZ or our stall refresh or coop refresher. Basically, it just helps absorb all the urine and smells and that kind of stuff and help keep flies down, much like a barn lime would for horses or something like that. So I'm going to start by putting the PDZ and the straw in the house, get that all done and set up for them. And then we'll end up doing PDZ around the edge of the fences too, where they've been pooping, just to kind of help keep flies down. think this is where I'm going to set up the trough. It seems to be the next kind of flattest spot. I want to be able to put it up against the fence on the back so that the pigs can't push it. So I can't keep it up front anymore because that's where our electric fence is going to be, and then I'm pushing it into the wire, which will basically render it ineffective. So before I move on to doing the electric fence, I thought I'd take a second to talk about the pig in the water bucket there. Obviously he's trying to cool off a little bit. So the breed we actually got Cooney Coonies is the breed they're called. And from what we understand, they're closer to a beef type meat. They're a little more of a red meat, a little fattier. The first 2 pigs we did 2 years ago, we got just your standard pink feeder pig that you know, the kind of pork you get at the grocery store. And we raised them out on pasture just like we're doing these guys with electric fence and all that stuff. And we ended up with some really, really lean pork. It had hardly any fat on it at all. And it just, no matter how we cook it, it comes out dry and tough. So we wanted to try a different breed. These again are supposed to be a little more fatty. But the other nice thing about these is these pigs don't root. These are a pasture pig, so they're grazers. They need hay, whereas the other pigs didn't. They need pasture, whereas the other pigs didn't necessarily need it, but it's just better for them. So that's why we went with these guys. We're gonna try them, see if we like them, and go from there. All right, we should have everything here that we need to get these guys training. We have 2 different fence chargers. We have this one, which is solar, which is our primary one that we use. We have had this go out on us before, and our pigs actually escaped, so then we ended up buying this one, which is just a hard plug-in one. So we just use this as a backup. So if we get a lot of rainy days in a row and this just doesn't cut it anymore, then we'll bring this out and plug it in and let this one charge back up. We have our wire. We have our 3 fire rods there. We have our ground rod. We have our post pounder, screwdrivers, cutter, our ground clamp, and our ground wire. And we'll go through the process of getting this all set up. All right, so here's our solar charger. We haven't used this in 1.5 years now, so I don't know if it's even gonna work or if it's even gonna charge a battery inside of it, because all last summer we never had it out, we never plugged it in, we didn't have pigs. So we're gonna get this set up and let it start collecting sun. This just slips right over the T-post, just like that. Installed. And next we'll do the ground rod. So the ground rod's pretty simple. Just need to pound it into the ground. That should be good enough. All right, so next we're gonna get our wires hooked up to the actual charger itself. We got a short lead here that'll go from the charger to the fence. So just take off the one that's labeled fence here, the red one. Go ahead, slip that over the screw and tighten that back down. And then we can take our other wire here, and we can attach that to ground, which would be our ground rod that we just pounded in. Slide that over that screw and put the plastic nut back on. So this installation is pretty simple as well. Basically you just have a screw that the wire goes into, tighten that down, and this slides over your ground rod. like so. Loosen up that other side. And then you just tighten down the screws. And that's it. Ground rod's connected. So now we can just run our fence. So the first thing I need to do is I need to move our 2 stumps we used to climb in, because that's going to be in the way of our fence as well. So I get those moved around over to this other side, up over here, and out of the way. Next, we can install our fiber fence posts. And these are really simple to install. Just put them on the ground and step them down. So then the next step is our wire. And I do three strands. So I'll just tie this around the lower piece. And I can just send them out. Wrap it around that a couple times. Into the next one. All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and cut the fencing, the wire. This out of the way. And I'm gonna go ahead and tie this off. And then what I like to do is I like to try to take and separate the ends out so I can get just the bare metal wires. Take my wire from my charger. And then I just take a wire nut and wire nut that right on. And there we have it. The big thing you want to make sure when you're running your fence for the training purposes is that you're not touching your metal panels, because that'll ground the system out, rendering your wire useless, because it's not going to shock the pigs, it's just going to go straight to ground. So the way it works is it comes from the charger up here into the fences, and then it doesn't touch ground. So, and then you got your return path here. So when you come in and grab the wire, you become the return path to ground, completing the circuit through the charger, through the fence, through you, through the ground, back to your ground rod over here, back up to the charger. And that's what completes the circuit. And that's why you get the shock. If you don't complete the circuit, you don't get a shock. Simple as that. So we're gonna go ahead, we'll turn this on and give it a test and see what we got for voltage. We'll take our tester, and you can see right now, it's showing low kV, so no voltage. So it's kind of what I expected. The charger's not working currently. I'm hoping if we let it sit and charge up that it'll work. I think for now I'm gonna run some cords over here and we'll get this thing plugged in just so we can start getting them trained and all. All right, so I got our plug-in charger set up here, wired in. I got about 200 feet of extension cord, which is why we like the solar one, because who wants to run 200 feet of extension cord? But anyway, let's go ahead, let's get this plugged in and we can give it a test. All right. I can hear it pulsing. Yep, and I'm reading over 8,000 volts. So we are good to go. All right, so make sure, again, when you're running your fence, you got it away from all the metal pieces. I can grab this post and I'm not getting shocked, which means I did a good job. So we'll let this sit for a while. I like to personally let the pigs have the fence with this fence in for about a week, and then I like to take the fence away and leave just the wires on this one side for about a week. And the reason I do that is you want this physical barrier here as they learn about the psychological barrier, because they know they cannot cross this. If they wanted to, they could push past that wire no problem. So we want them to learn that the wire is a physical barrier that they cannot get past, even though it's just a psychological thing for them. So that's why we do it this way. And then once we move them, we won't have any hog panels at all. It'll be strictly just electric fence all the way around their whole pen or perimeter. And we'll get them on a pretty big area as well. You saw that spool. We have a pretty big spool. We give them a pretty big area. So we're gonna let this sit for a while. I'm gonna let that other charger charge for a few days. Then I'll turn it on and I'll test it and see if it's working. If not, we'll have to look at getting another one. I had a feeling again that was gonna happen because it's been sitting for 2 years, a year and a half without being charged, no sunlight, no discharge. So I'm guessing the battery's probably gone bad. So anyway, we'll let these guys train on this for a few days. We'll check that in a few days and we'll be back. It's been about 4 days since I put the electric fence in now. I've had the solar charger out here since then and haven't tied into it or anything, haven't tested it yet. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna give that a test quick and see if it's actually working. So we'll flip it on and I'm getting nothing at the screw. So just for proof of concept, I'm gonna check the screw here too, make sure this actually lights up on the screw. Yep, and I'm getting 8,000 volts, so that charger or battery has gone bad. So we'll have to get a new one for that to be on solar. But I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna get these pigs, we're gonna remove this panel and see if they're trained on the fence. Normally I like to leave them for a full week, but we need to get these guys on pasture, and I have not seen them come near this fence since the first day I turned it on. So I feel like they're trained on it already. The only way to really know is to remove the panel and see if they stay in. All right, so the first thing I need to do is move this charger because I did not put it in a very good spot. Should have put it around the corner because I knew I had to move this panel, but we'll just have to do that now. So to turn it off, it's pretty simple. It's off. And the next thing I need to do is I just need to cut the ties holding this panel in. And the panel will be able to come right out. All right, I got all the ties cut, so we can go ahead and pull this out, I think. It's always nerve-wracking to me the first time I open this up because it just feels like they're just gonna run right out. They shouldn't, hopefully not. We'll see, but we got to get these T-posts, so I'm going to go grab my PPost puller. So I got my big orange T-post puller out, and I'll show you how I hook this up and how I do this. So basically I just take a chain, I wrap it around twice, hook it back to itself, and then I can just hook it on the hook I welded in my bucket, and I should be able to just lift it right out now. Alright, so that's it. The fence is back on, ready to go. We're going to give it a test, but a little piece of advice. Do not leave your fence tester on the floor of your tractor because it will fall off and you will run it over with the tractor. Yeah. But amazingly, it's still working. So let's go ahead and test the fence. 8,000 volts. Should be all good to go. So that'll be it for this one. The next video on pigs, we'll actually be moving them out onto pasture, hopefully. For us, it'll be just hopefully a couple days. For you, I'm not sure when I'll get the video out, but it'll be coming out soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. We'd really appreciate it. And we'd also really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel as well, if you haven't already. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.